Howdy, Meeps. It's Sen here, and we're live with Maple Syrup. We have the co-hostess with the mostest. That is Hafiz. I don't know if I should call you a hostess. Co-host with the most.
I'll take what I can get.
There you go. Co-host with the most.
I'm not picky.
You're not picky. And over there, we have count of two very special guests. They happen to be, married to each other, so they're in the same space, which is
I
nice.
absolutely locked that down. Yes.
Yep. You have to, wife material, right? So we have Amy and Dusty here from Duck's Somnium games. I was practicing saying that because it's hard to say. What exactly does it mean? What does it mean?
So it's Latin for leader of dreams. And
okay.
That's in our origin story.
Yeah, it's in our origin story.
Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that then. All right. So welcome to Amy and Dusty. That's wonderful. So Hafiz, you had bookmarked Amy and Dusty to come on the show the minute that we had talked about, okay, so who do we want to talk to? You're like, I want to talk to Amy and Dusty. Mm-hmm. Why?
A few reasons. One, they're awesome people.
Sure.
Two, they just make very, very beautiful games. There's a couple here and here. But the themes that they pick for the games are ones that you don't really see in board games. And we were chatting a little bit before we started. You go to a board game, you're going to see 15 zombie games, maybe 10 space games. But Flower Hunters is not really a theme you see very often. Garden parties isn't really a theme you see very often. And so I thought it'd be really great to have you both on the show, just chat with Sen and I about, underrepresented themes in board games. So your experience with them, how you found success from them. We were talking about it clearly seems to have hit a chord. And so today we're going to be diving a little bit more into theme. We're going to be talking maybe a little bit about branding if there's time at the end, because I know you two are doing some really interesting things with your brand and broadening your audience. But maybe before we get into that, we were talking origin stories beforehand. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your origin story? How did you get into gaming? How did you get into game design? And anything that led up to that?
Yeah, it's long and meandering. So I'm going to give you the shortest version possible. So Amy and I are serial entrepreneurs. And after college, I went into IT consulting in the Bay Area.
We also started dating in high school.
Yeah, we've been together since we were 14. That's ultra origin story. Yeah. So we get out of college, and I go to IT consulting, and Amy worked for an interior design firm. And the design firm she was working for went out of business. And I realized after about 4 minutes that I hated IT consulting. I was working at all the big, bunch of big places in Silicon Valley, and it's not that glamorous. And so totally, sort of because of that, Amy's sitting around and she's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And she's been taking pictures since we were kids of just about everything on the ranch and the farm and everything around here. So unrelated to any of this, that Christmas, I bought her our first kind of promise. This is all relevant. I swear it is. I bought her first professional level camera, and our friend goes, oh, you should take my sister's senior portraits, and you should take my friend's wedding pictures. And within about 2 years, we were shooting about 50 weddings a year. So it just took off. Parallel to that, I started, one of my friends went into travel marketing, and I started doing...
It's actually the same one.
The same friend that said we should do pictures. Yeah.
Right. So this is your BFF who has changed your life.
Yeah, exactly. She takes credit.
Yeah, they must have a phenomenal Christmas card.
A lot of games with her. What?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so...
Yeah, they must get a great Christmas card every year.
Yeah. And so... okay, so now we have travel marketing business that we're working on, and we have the photography business, and that goes on for about 11 years. And we thought, oh, we're super diversified. Nothing will ever come along that'll affect both travel and events, and something did. And we were just sitting around with basically nothing to do.
And no money.
No money, nothing to do. Burning through our savings to stay alive because we were completely self-employed for over a decade at this point.
So we started making a lavender field, selling lavender, or started to plant it, but it takes 3 years to get any.
Yeah, so we have a bunch of land, and we were like, okay, well, let's work something on it. And so Amy wanted to do lavender.
And then in the meantime, we were like, well, we need something right away. So we started a Etsy shop and started selling flower presses.
Yes. And
custom flower presses.
Now we're getting into more relevant stuff. And one day we were driving to Well, so one day the same friend that started our other two businesses sent me a link, and it's Star Wars Legion is on sale. And I'm like, oh, I've always wanted to paint miniatures, and my parents would never let me. But you know what? I'm an independent adult now, and I can
You
buy
are.
what I want. Yes, and I bought those, and then
He's been buying toys all along.
yeah. But I want to paint miniatures. And then we started. So then I started thinking, well, I see lots of people on Etsy where we have our third business selling stuff. Maybe I could sell like miniatures and stuff, and I could start printing them. And we start talking about it, and we're like, but everybody's selling the same miniatures. They're all just licensed prints and stuff. We need to make our own miniatures. I wonder how we could do that. And Amy's like, well, if you're making miniatures, you should make a board game. So we started making a game called it was about dreams and sci-fi and fantasy and all this stuff, and it needed lots of miniatures. And we discovered
Somnium.
Yeah, and that's where
that's where the name comes from.
Super relevant to the one game we haven't made yet. And
but then we had already registered.
Yeah, we had the website, we had everything already done. The LLC was made, and so we're like, okay, well, we're just gonna roll with that. And
we started doing the Launch Boom.
Yeah, we started Launch Boom, started
Yeah,
we started trying to figure out what we're gonna do for advertising. And I came in the kitchen one morning, Amy goes, okay, so this is it's getting really expensive and it's gonna take a long time, but I have an idea. And I'm like, what is it? She's like, well, I've been reading this book about these crazy flower hunters in the Victorian era that would
I like pressing flowers and gardening.
And I go all over the world getting flowers. And I was like, okay. And she's like, I think maybe we can make a game about like pressing flowers. I'm like, well, this is on brand. Yeah, we could absolutely do that. And I was thinking, well, there's lots of, sort of like more alternative themed games coming out. And I was thinking about like, Wingspan and I can't remember what else came top of mind right at that point, but stuff like that. And I thought, well, this could work. Let's try this and see what happens. And within about a week, Botany was on the table and playable. And that was just a few months before the Kickstarter launch. And it's just, from there.
That's amazing.
It's very random. I told you it was long and meandering.
The best origin stories always are.
Yeah.
So you thought up this really unique theme. It's something that's personal and connected to what you were doing. The response that you got, can you tell us about that compared to your expectation? Like going into the Kickstarter, what were your expectation? And then the response,
because absolutely no clue.
It's touched a chord.
The best example of it is, so we get up and we're going to launch a campaign at 6 a.m.
Same friend.
Yeah, same friend, 6 a.m. our time. And this is Jenny. Jenny's on chat with us. She already got up early. It's our first Kickstarter, and it's about like 5:57 a.m. And I look at Amy and I say, all right, here's what's going to happen. We've done all this work. We had a bunch of VIPs. We had a bunch of interest.
Yeah, so we knew there was some interest.
We had like 10,000 email signups for information beforehand. And I said, okay, here's what's going to happen. We're going to click the button, and then we're going to sit here refreshing this thing over and over and over again. And then maybe after a while we'll get one backer. And maybe after a while we'll get like another backer. And let's just set our expectations. It'll be fine. And so we click the button and we're like, oh God, okay, let's click the button. And I'm about to ping Jenny and as I'm typing her saying, okay, it's live, go ahead and back so you can be backer number one. The counter goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and no. And I'm like typing Jenny, you better go fast. You're not going to make top 100 at this point. And I don't remember what the number was within the first hour, but it was hundreds of backers. And we were just sitting there just like shocked, like, oh, wow, whoa. That really happened faster than we were expecting it to.
That's amazing. I think there's a real kind of story here in, tapping into a market that is underserved, like we were talking about before. If you had come up with, say, Pax Somnium, a lot of people would be like, oh, another sci-fi game. Okay, maybe I'll look at it. Maybe I'll back it.
An interesting ensemble of characters, yes.
Yeah. But
I own like 40 of those.
Yeah, but flower hunting, I don't own, at the time, any games that are about necessarily flower hunting. And I think that's really, really like interesting that you can have a mailing list where there's not just hundreds, but thousands of people who are interested day one to at least look at the product, right? Based on nothing more than a box shot, right? And maybe a little bit of info about how the game was played. Now, I know that, there's a saying that we eat with our eyes, and being a photography person, Amy, do you think that really helped you in like staging the shots and doing the getting all the it looking just right so it appealed to a specific market?
Yeah, I mean, basically, we're trying to appeal to like. I don't feel there's a ton of games that are like really pretty for girls that
Sure.
like I really want to play and just look at the cards. And so yeah, that's what we were going for.
In the beginning, I
Mhm.
kind of like would fight her on things. I'm like, I don't know. Like, are you sure this is the way? Like, somebody said this thing, and maybe we should. And now, now the first question I ask her is, what do you want? What do you want here? And she's like, I want more dresses. I'm like, great. We will find a way to put more dresses in this game. Let's
I
go.
want more flowers.
I want more flowers. And I'm like, this isn't even a game about flower endearment. She's like, I want flowers in the game, and I want the language of flowers specifically. I'm like, okay, we can come up with a mechanic that uses flowers in an interesting way. Like, we'll figure this out. And sure enough,
I'm
then
like, do all the games have some artistry? Has no flowers.
no, but
What
it's
were
got
we
girls
thinking?
wearing flowers.
Girls are wearing flowers.
Yeah. And that has dresses too. And so, but then I get hundreds of emails in our inbox and comments online, like, "Oh, the flowers and oh, the dresses," and this is why we listen to Amy and
I
everything
can
she
just
says.
look at all the pictures all day long. I don't even care if I'm
Yeah.
wearing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have no.
you have
I
an
don't know. I
eye.
mean, it's okay. It doesn't matter. I've been looking at these pictures.
I mean, I don't want to seem sexist or anything, but this is going to come out sexist. So forgive me. But there was definitely a time when my friends who are girls, they would pick the team they were going to cheer for based on the colors of the jersey, right? And that's like very common kind of story that guys have. Oh yeah, my girlfriend won the pool, but she picked the pool, the winning team based on the color of their jersey. Oh my gosh. And those people actually are funny because most of my friends who are girls who are into sports actually know more about the sport than the guys do anyways. So it's not exactly sexist. But also they like the colors of the jersey. 'Cause I like the colors of some of the jerseys too. But it's really interesting that I think having an eye and knowing your audience, right? Knowing your audience. What audience does the theme resonate with? And then what does that audience actually want or look for? And Amy, maybe you were designing. Oh, there we go. We lost them. Do you have
They
them
said
still on your screen?
no, they've popped off. So for those watching, internet's a little bit spotty, but normally it should come back in within about 10 seconds or so.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
audience is a great segue for us to talk to next.
Yeah.
Because how do you plan for an audience for a theme that people may or may not be interested in? Right? Like you can plan you can plan for your audience for people interested in space games because you just look at
Hmm.
other space games.
But you know what? I think, oh, there's a big red box here. I don't know what that is. I
I'm trying to fix the camera again.
Oh, I see. That's hilarious. So we'll see what it shows us when it gets fixed.
Oh,
But
gosh.
yeah, no, you're right that, hey, I think you're right, Hafiz, that, an audience that already has kind of like an oeuvre, a genre, kind of what they want. If you're aiming at people in the demographics of, this will appeal to dudes around the age of 50, 40, 60. They grew up on like 80s and 90s action movies. You know what they want. You know kind of what will work. Or if you're working with an IP, like I work with a lot of IPs, I look at the fans of that IP. And I guess, Amy, it's the same thing for you guys when you're looking at things like Regency era games or flower pressing games. Is there in flower pressing, in the realm of flower pressing, which I have no idea about, is there like an aesthetic that people are going for or looking for that you would have like said, oh, let's copy that in the game, or let's integrate that into the game?
I mean, there's a lot of people on Instagram and stuff that like flower pressing and make flower press like art and stuff. But I was kind of looking more at like the actual Victorian times when it was really, when they were really interested in it and started doing it. And I like to look at vintage books.
Mm.
I have a large collection of vintage books.
So a bunch of our games, the covers are just based off of books that Amy has that are 150 or 200 years old.
Or like I take
I mean,
elements
they
from each
they
of them.
they lasted the test of time, right?
Yeah.
And there is something about that because I think, like I love Art Nouveau and Art Deco,
Mhm.
and there's definitely something about your games that kind of harkens to a lot of those eras that I really enjoy looking at, just the intricacy of the design elements that you're putting on your boxes and your cards. So I think there's some like a sense of like taste, like a refined taste that apparently it's all Amy's, Hafiz. I don't know what.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I
On
know
my job
Dusty's big
every
into
day
that,
is just
but
Amy does the graphic design as well
facilitate
too.
her creativeness.
right. And the the look of each of your games just has that appeal that says this is something special, this is something different, and it's almost like bespoke to the theme of the game, as
Yeah.
opposed to generic action movie number 17 that we're gonna copy, right? So I really did appreciate that. Fees, what are your thoughts about like different themes? And I wouldn't say weird because they're not weird. They're just underserviced, or I don't know.
Non-traditional.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. Non-traditional themes.
Yeah, non-traditional. I mean, uh, flower hunting for sure is definitely one that you're not going to find, and I'm sure that made it actually a lot more difficult to try and build around an audience because we were talking before. There's so many games that are pirate themed, for instance, so you can go and take a look at the different pirate games to see what people are into. But you didn't really have a like a set audience for games that exist on that theme before. So I'm wondering if we could spend a little bit more time just on audience. And how did you find your audience? And on the note, can you tell us a little bit about Mary?
Yeah, it was super duper easy because all we did was just go show this to all of Amy's friends on Instagram. And so the audience was already, built in for us because Amy was already a part of all of it.
And actually, like, I don't look at a ton of like gamers pages and stuff.
Hmm.
I look more at like flower pressing and what like lots of girls like to wear different period clothes, and I
Right.
like looking at the different fashion.
And our whole website is based on Williams Sonoma and Pottery Barn. And it's
Ah.
very simple by comparison now, but we have some updates that we're rolling out this year that we sort of tested over Christmas, where instead of doing, the typical like box shot and game layout, Amy went out and made these incredible overhead, like snow and ornaments and all these shots as the primary shot. And we put those on our website, and we just sold an absolute ton of Christmas bundles just using like that imagery.
Yeah,
And it's
we
not,
with our eyes. You're right. That's awesome.
yeah, and it's not. But then now we're talking about knowing your audience. So like, I absolutely love Warhammer. I would not recommend that Warhammer adopt this like website and photography style on any level.
Unless you replaced all the snow falling with like blood for the
Yeah,
the
blood
blood
for the blood
god.
god. Yeah,
Right.
and so, but for us, for the people that we're making our games for and selling them to, like that, those are the kind of customer journeys that they're used to. Mary specifically is our super fan avatar that we came up with. She's effectively Amy, but we think about like what would Mary want to see and what would she do and what kind of things is she interested in, and we make these bullet point lists of like everything that we think is a selling point of the game, and we order them. And so when we're going to
Always at the top is must be pretty.
yeah, it must be pretty. And the second thing is the theme. And then, and the mechanics are like all the way down towards the bottom. And that's not to say that Mary's not like interested in mechanics. She just doesn't articulate or think about them. Like the game has to be fun for her. But so actually the best story I have is one of our designers, his name is Alex, and he's the designer of this game Notebook Nations that we have coming out later this year. And his wife won't play board games with him or does so infrequently. And he sent us a message a few weeks ago, and he's like, "Hey, I got her to play Artistry." And and when we were done, I said, "Hey, what'd you think
And
about
they
it?"
played our jewelry box edition.
The Jewelry Box Edition, yeah. So we have a $300 edition of this
Ooh.
game, and
Yikes. That's awesome.
yeah, and they played that, and he was like, it was the weirdest thing. She didn't say anything about the gameplay. All she talked about was like how nice it was to touch the pieces and how she liked the clack and to see the texture on the car and look at the the it's licensed with the Muka Foundation, so Alphonse Muka's great grandson. We have a license with for the art and everything,
Hmm.
and she talked about the art. She didn't say anything about it. And I'm like, yeah, but she had fun, right? And he's like, yeah, she had a ton of fun. I'm like, see, so the mechanics worked. It's just not what she's thinking about. It's not her priority when it comes to a game. The mechanics have to support and be fun, but the first thing is, what does that box look like? What's the theme? What's the experience? And so it's like everything that Board Game Geek does, but like upside down, right? It's the exact opposite order.
Yeah. No, that's a great way of putting it, because there are customers that would invert the list. There are customers that would reorder the list. All the things kind of matter in some degree, or at least, there's a priority to them. But different audiences have different tastes, and
Yep.
that's okay. And you manage to be successful by tapping into a specific audience that may feel underserved in that regard, whether it's thematics or experience. And I like what you said about, Mary, or in this case, this designer's wife. The feel, the opening the box, the experience of all of that, even putting it back in. I think all of that has to be good for the experience to feel right. There's a saying that I have, which is, games, designer games, like at this level, they're curated experiences in a box. And it starts from the moment the person sees it to when they pack everything back up, and everything in between contributes something to that experience. So when you get a bunch of pieces that are just in like plastic bags and you're like,
They're all just thrown in there.
yeah, is that a good experience? It depends on what kind of gamer you are.
Absolutely
But
depends on who you're selling to. So
yeah,
the first thing you see when you open the floor is the
lovely.
swing.
Yeah.
And that costs extra money for us to put that in there, basically,
Yeah.
for every single copy. By the way, that is Dice Throne X-Men behind me, so you can tell what I like.
Nice.
But so, and every single one of our boxes has, except for some of the expansion, has a picture like this on the inside. So the first thing they see when they open the box, like, they're already engaged in that experience. And you would not believe the number of emails I get just about that picture inside the box,
or the back of our boards,
or the back of our boards. Yeah,
I want it to be pretty.
have flowers all over them, and and Art Nouveau stuff, and
no, I agree.
And you've had the
we put
opposite.
stuff on the back of our boards too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was going to say you've
Go
had
ahead,
the opposite
Hafiz.
reaction as well too. Like, you have a very core audience, and you're making games for that audience, which is how it should be. Like, if you try and make a game for everyone, you're just going to make something kind of bland. But there was I feel like there was almost an equal reaction, like from your super fan. You had the counter reaction from the board game geek crowd. And I know, Dusty, you shared some stories with me before, just about like some of the weird, strange things that have come up. I was wondering,
they don't like
do you
it.
want to share?
So yeah, the gatekeepers keep the gates hard sometimes, and I get a lot of comments that are basically like, I consume more expertly, and I consume better, and I consume harder than you. And in the beginning, we were like, hey, can everybody just go rate us on Board Game Geek? And we had tons of new signups for Board Game Geek, and all of these people started like, how come this is your first post here? Did they put you up to this? And I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys, like, just let them into the community, please. I'm trying to make new board gamers for you, and you're never gonna believe this, but most of them are girls. And they just couldn't handle it. And so then I was like, you know what? Maybe Board Game Geek isn't the thing. And so I started like digging, and Board Game Geek has like, I don't know, 80, 100,000 like unique users. It's not much. In America alone, there are 157 million people who own a board game. And the whole industry tries to act like Board Game Geek is like the whole industry. And it turns out that it's not even like a fraction of a percent of it. And so you look at Board Game. One of my favorite things to do is you go to Board Game Geek and you sort by lowest rated games of all time, like all games, all
It's
time.
the highest selling games. Really.
It's the highest selling games of all time. Yeah, it's like it's
Monopoly and Jenga,
Sorry, Connect Four, arguably the greatest games in all of history. Like, people talk about chess being around for thousands of years, but chess has not sold as many copies as Monopoly has.
Oh, I bet it might have.
I mean, 180 million. Yeah, it's given a run for its money. It's definitely made more revenue. So that right there is an education in that. Like, I actually mentioned this.
Can't we all just get along and play games?
Yeah, just let me play games. Yeah, you don't have to play a game. Let me have fun.
Nope, I game harder. I game better.
Yeah, I game harder. I game better. We had a guy a few weeks ago on Board Game Geek, and he posted alternative rules for Botany, and he says, guys, this game is terrible. I went in and cleaned it up. I made everything better. And everybody's like, oh, so cool. And he goes, but my wife won't play it with me anymore. And I'm like, that's because you broke it. That's because you ruined it. You took exactly what was made for her, and you ruined it.
Well, that's what I'm saying about intentionality and curating in game design. Like, you had an audience, Mary, aka Amy, and you made a game for Mary, aka Amy, and it worked. And there's nothing wrong with that. Not every game is for everybody. Like Hafiz said, if you try to do that, you're going to end up with a game that nobody really likes. They might be okay with it, but they're not going to evangelize about it. They're not going to love it. And I think you did the right thing, and I would back you up 100%. Like, you made a game that the people who you made it for absolutely adore and will yell it from the mountaintops, right? And I think in this business, if you're not making somebody on the opposite end really like angry about that game, maybe you're not doing it right. You know,
Yeah.
maybe it's okay that like the war gamers don't love it because it's not for them, and that's okay that a game is not for them.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
okay with it.
They have 6,999 other games that are for
Yeah,
them every
most
year,
of which they don't play, that they just sit in a pile in the corner of their room.
right?
They, you know, I mean, we get, for the garbage we also get way the heck more like proportional like positivity out of people, even gamers. And I get probably 1 or 2 emails a week from just random guys that are like, hey man, you know, we went out to dinner. We were walking back to the car with the family. We're at the, you know, the shopping center. And so I was like, hey, can we swing in the game store? And we always go in the game store. And then like my wife just goes and stands in the corner and looks at her phone and waits for me to like pick out whatever Warhammer I'm getting today. And we went in, and today Botany was on the table, and she didn't get her phone out. She just walked right over to it, and she kind of looked at it, and she picked it up. She didn't even turn it over, and she just walked back over to me, and she handed it to me. And then she went and stood in the corner, and I didn't say anything. I just held onto it, and I got my Warhammer, and I walked up, and I bought both that and Botany. And he's like, "Thank you." Like, she's never done anything in this store before. Thank you. And I, see, you get it. You understand. You've passed the assignment.
It's a chick magnet. It's a chick magnet.
It's the foil. It's the foil. I fought Amy on that foil so much. It's like 10% of the cost of the entire freaking game. And I was like, oh gosh, are you sure you want to do this? She's like, we have to have the foil. So we added as a stretch goal on the first campaign. Now it's just pre-stretched on every one of our campaigns. But we added as a stretch goal on the first campaign. And when it unlocked, I got, you know, just email after email and comment after comment. And this one girl says, wow, we were watching and we kept refreshing the page. And when we saw we unlocked that gold foil, my mom and I screamed. And I thought, okay, I understand now. I understand why Amy said we have to have the foil. And now we just had this discussion the other day. We're making a game that is called Victorian Greeting Card Showdown. And it's kind of like a party game. And it has to have a lot of cards. But it turns out that all those party games you see with a lot of cards, the reason they can fit so many cards is because they're printing like 150, 200,000 of those a year. Like, it's a lot. Well, we're not printing those quantities yet. And Amy was like, maybe we need to cut a few pennies here or there. Like, what do you think?
Maybe the gold foil.
Maybe the gold foil. And I'm just sitting there, blasphemy, never. Like, the game's
You've been converted completely to gold foil. That is hilarious.
What do you think we are, savages?
What's funny is now it has more gold foil.
It has even more gold foil. I was like, just lean into it. Put gold foil over the whole thing. Like,
is that one of the selling points? Like, now with more gold foil? Yeah. That'd be amazing. I think that's amazing, Dusty, how you've been converted to you're now a Mary. Sorry.
Oh, I've understood for years. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. My
And what's funny is lots of times his Warhammer little things that he paints has gold. Like, didn't you?
Oh, that's my favorite. Yeah, I have a whole Adeptus Custodes army that's entirely gold.
Yeah, with little gold.
Yeah, it's my favorite color to paint. Yeah. It has become a part of me.
It was meant to be.
Yeah.
My wife and I had a deal. So the shelf that's behind me, it goes for a little bit. And I'm like, I just want to stuff this as full as possible with games. And she's like, we built this thing together. And she's like, I'm helping you build this so you can display the games, but it needs to look nice. So I want to have some that are just facing out. And the first game that we had was Botany. Nice. And then, I mean, artistry is down here. It needs to be faced outwards, but I have some of the other ones on that side.
We'll get there.
It's like it's the pretty games that are the ones that are on display.
I can see the foil for Botany, by the way. It's lit up.
Oh yeah, it's glittering. It's great.
It shines when you can see it across the store. My mom, so Botany has a placement at Barnes and Noble, and my mom sent us a picture of it the other day, and it was like dead center, and you could see the whole
Botany.
End of the game, and then Botany is just like lit up, like right in the middle of it, like a beacon. That's good placement. Like, thank you for this picture, Mom.
And one of the nice things that we learned last week, from the TTGDA webinar, is that gold foil is actually at least somewhat recyclable, as opposed to like spot UV, which is not recyclable.
Interesting.
It actually kills the whole box. Like, if you put a dot of spot UV on it, you can no longer recycle that box. So foil.
Why would you ever recycle it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, because everything comes to an end of life.
Now ours, so we call our stuff heirloom quality. And
You'd
that we got
hope, you
that from
hope, right?
photography. Everything in photography was heirloom quality. The
I
inks
mean,
will last longer than you do. And so
what are you talking about for that? I collect books that are like 200 years
I
so
old.
these are things
know,
that
I know.
we intend for people to
Sen,
pass
you're
our games on to their
blaspheming right now.
grandchildren.
Getting rid of board game boxes? Never.
I do not. I think my stuff will last forever, but it's actually kind of funny. Like if you look at your product, not your specific product, but just games in general, like how many games do you own that are, over 50, 75 years old? Whereas books, you can find those
Yeah.
now because
Yeah.
for some reason people take care of them. They're not necessarily they're like flipped through, but they're not necessarily handled the same way
Mhm.
or shuffled and all that kind of stuff. So it is something to consider that there might be an end of life for this game.
I
Sad as
have
that sounds.
I'm trying to think. I have my grandma's Rummy Cube set from the 1970s.
That's pretty
And I
good.
have my other grandma's aggravation board from like the 1950s.
Yeah.
Or 60s. I can't remember which it is. She even like glued it onto a piece of wood with frame on it. Like
So she modified that.
she took
Okay.
that game very seriously. Yeah.
And Alexified it.
Yeah. And I mean, some of the pieces that I have like a Bakelite set of like dominoes that'll last forever, right?
Yeah.
So, and obviously some of the simpler games will last forever. It's more like, what if you lose a piece and you can no longer play this game? Or the games that have a lot of plastic in it where the plastic kind of like deteriorates over time.
Mhm.
Anyway, long story short is that gold foil is good for other reasons. Not only does it catch the eye, it doesn't make the box like totally irredeemable. So there you go.
Nice.
Good choice.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about, we talked about mechanics being like kind of almost at the bottom of the list of your audience. But what you said was really, I think, important that it still has to be a good game. Nobody's going to buy a game and evangelize about it if the product's just merely pretty and it doesn't serve its original function, right? So when you're making a game for the audience that you're targeting, I know that sounds really mercenary, but when you are,
We say it all the time.
yeah, how does that affect your design decisions? Because you're like, I like Magic and BattleTag, and how do you take that and then boil it down to something that maybe is more digestible or approachable or whatever fancy buzzword term you want to use, but for your audience?
We so we'll typically be like looking at different stuff and we'll say like, oh, we think about like, I mean, we get questions all the time. So one of the things that Board Game Geek loves to say is these games are too simple, and I get emails all the time. This is the most complicated game I've ever played in my entire life, right? And so we think about like,
It
okay,
took me like 5 hours to figure out.
they're like, oh yeah, we played for 5 hours. I'm like, how did you play for 5 hours? Like, I'm not even sure how you would do that. And so we try to think about like, how do we? It's not that you can't be thinky. Like artistry is an extremely thinky game, but the cognitive load is what we think about the most. Like, how do we reduce all cognitive load possible here? How do we make it the steps not confusing and everything very straightforward and put more emphasis on like thinking about the possibilities of what you could do rather than like making sure that you're thinking about like how many steps you have to take to actually execute on the game.
We also always think about the theme first, like what mechanics make sense for the particular theme.
So like in artistry, you're creating this studio of all these fancily dressed girls who just so also happen to be like making metal and or blacksmithing and casting glass and doing all this stuff. And they're all in pretty dresses and have flowers in their hair. And but they need materials. Okay, well, how do we get materials?
There
Well,
really
they go to the market.
Studios where women or people did this.
Yeah.
Artists.
They just weren't dressed like that. Like they dressed like they were actually working with like piping hot metal. But they got to go to the market. Okay, what's the market? Well, they go to they would go to the market and they'd buy the materials they need, the raw materials. Okay, well, how would they get them? Well, different people probably had different expertise and different emphasis. Okay, let's give these people different shapes and patterns, and we're sort of taking the story and abstracting it like backwards, rather than starting with mechanics and trying to put theme on them. And then every step of the way, we're just asking ourselves like, would Mary understand this? Like, we were working on another game, and I was chatting with a couple of my designer friends, and I was like, yeah, we're trying to figure out how to get through this part or what we think about this or this decision. And and one of them goes, hey, what if you did this instead? I'm like, oh, that's a really cool system. And I went to Amy and I was like, what happens if when you win like a battle, like you get all their coins? And Amy, and I'm like, how cool is that? Amy goes, I hate that. And I'm like, okay, well, it's out of the game then. We're never doing it again. that just kills it instantly. I'm going to paraphrase here, but Coco Chanel has a quote that is, I'm not quoting directly, but it's something like akin to like, before you step out of the door or out of the house, look in the mirror and take one thing off. Remove the hat, take off a bracelet, take off the earrings. And I feel like there's so many games out there, and I say this a lot, like, remember, Coco Chanel always says, before you release your game, remove one mechanic, right? And so our expansions a lot of the time are like mechanics where we're like, that does not need to be in the game. Let's just take that out. If anybody wants the expansion, they can have fun with it that way. But for the core experience, we need to simplify. We need to reduce the cognitive load, make this playable for people who aren't used to fiddly bits, tons and tons of little cubes.
I agree. Even for like hardcore gamers, I think that is the right answer as well. Like, streamline, simplify, not so much that you lose the soul of the game, but so that the game can hit the table faster and more often, and you can teach it to new people easier, right? I think there's a lot to be said about a game that gets taken off the shelf many, many times. Because I'm going to assume for many of your customers, Botany and then any other game that they've bought from you in the future or in the past and now into the future will be some of the only games at that hobby level that they own.
Oh, it's not just
right?
the hobby level. We get pictures all the time, and they're like, "Hey, here's my whole game collection," and it's our 5
Sometimes
games.
it's like
Exactly,
a
that's
little
what I mean.
shrine.
Yeah, they have like little. We get pictures where people have like put flowers around them, or they've decorated them, or they have an
Right.
antique cupboard, and just in the cupboard is each of the games. Like, yeah. So we each of our campaigns, about 20% of our backers are first time backers to Kickstarter. And then in our last campaign, I think 60 of them had backed 5 or fewer, or 60%.
Sometimes it's the games that we
and most of those people, it was only the games that we had made. So I'm always helping people like that. I don't understand how Kickstarter works. No problem. Like, we get that all the time. Here's how to walk through it. Here's how to do it.
Yeah. I think that's wonderful and lovely because it is, like you said, you're building new communities. And I talk to people about marketing all the time because I think marketing is a very misunderstood aspect of the board game industry. Most people think it's like I do an ad buy on BGG and I yell at the audience that already knows that my stuff is coming out.
And they think it's evil. Don't forget that part. They're all convinced that they're evil for doing it.
Yeah. But marketing is actually like you're forging new relationships, tapping into new markets, people who aren't your core gamers. The core gamers will probably buy almost anything that you make, right? Well, within reason. But you really want to tap into that market that has some income for this particular kind of almost luxury product, but they don't have anything to spend it on, right? And you're giving them that opportunity to have something slightly different than what they normally would spend on, that is giving them what they need and want, and in a nice curated box. And I think that is something that the two of you have done like at an expert level, which I think people could learn from, whether or not they're making the same games or tapping into the same audience. It's that concept of, look, like, I bet you if you looked at your stats, like you said, and you're doing it, like a huge percentage of your backers have backed less than X number of games. And a vast majority of them, all the games that they've backed are majority yours. So you're able to not only tap into an audience, you're able to keep that audience. That retention is super important. And you've basically made fans of your brand, right? So I think that is more powerful than selling many, many numbers in one burst. Because a lot of those companies just kind of go out of business.
Yeah.
And
so
in a separate interview.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go for it, Justin.
No, you go.
I was just going to say, in a separate interview, or it was a conversation, you'd shared that you actually have a really interesting approach for your next game in the series that you're going to be creating, where you take your audience and you shift them slightly. Can you tell us a little bit about how you approach the next game and the next game and the next game?
Yeah, so the real answer is that we're just sort of wandering through Amy's interests, and we have like 30 ideas. I mean, there's probably more than that now.
Sometimes he shoots me down.
The list, she's got a list of like at least 30 games she wants to make. We can make it. Well, gosh, sometimes she comes to me and
artistry, he was shooting me down.
Yeah, artistry was definitely a mistake. I should not have shot her down there, and I should have listened harder on other things. But I'm starting to figure it out a little better. But so like Botany was like Victorian flower hunting. Okay. That's an audience. Well, you can only hit that audience so many times. I mean, like I buy as much Warhammer as I possibly can, and even I don't buy everything they make, right? I
There's
just
so
can't.
much.
Yeah, people are limited human beings. We have limited money, limited time, limited resources. And so you can't just hammer the same audience over and over again. So like if this is one circle is our botany audience. Well, then we made LaFleur. Well, we took, it's still flower themed, but it's French, Rococo era. And so that
There's a
takes
lot of Francophiles.
yeah, so we get a lot of people that maybe they aren't necessarily interested in Victorians. Maybe they aren't necessarily interested in flowers, but they like Rococo area. And we pulled some of those botany people that are interested in flowers and and history over into. And so now we have Venn diagram that overlaps.
I was just gonna say it's a Venn diagram.
That's exactly right. And then we take, and then so for artistry is Art Nouveau. Well, that's still French. So we're taking a lot of the people that were,
But it's also kind of Victorian, like it's
it was the
Of the
Victorian
time.
era. Yeah, it was very close to the Victorian era. So we take all that and we slide up, and now we have a third circle in the Venn diagram. And each of these times we're bringing in more like new people, and each of these times we're pulling customers. And so then for endearment, we took we took all those things and we made, now we're like coming out the front of the thing, fourth dimensional circles here. But we did Jane Austen, and it turns out, oh geez, a lot of these people like these other things like Jane Austen, so they slide in that.
It's all the historical dramas.
Right.
This was the one I wasn't sure about. So we're doing Botany Floral Dragons, and the folks at Hit Point Press asked us if we wanted to make a version of Botany based on that. And we're like, okay, well, we're launching some other sort of more like nerdy games, and it's still the same, like intro to strategy,
bring flowers,
bring new people in. So I was like, oh, this would be interesting to see, because we have another history. We're actually launching 5 more historic games this year.
Wow.
Smaller box.
Yeah. Some
it is only
ones.
January, so yeah, okay, I get it.
Yeah. And another big one in the fall, but I was like, well, we're going to take we're just take a little segue here, and we're going to do this one based on flowery dragons, and just, because we're trying to create a new audience where we slide some of those people into our nerdy games that we're doing under our Minerva Studio imprint.
Oh,
and that was the same thing as day one of Botany. I was like, okay, here we go. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to put this out, and maybe like one person's going to like buy the mini expansion.
I thought that people would still
She thought it'd be, but I was just like, let's set our expectations.
Oh no, the art is beautiful.
What are you doing?
Come on.
Yeah, and then I put it on Facebook, and we have a Facebook group that has like 5,000 people in it, that's separate from our Instagram, and oh my gosh, I love, and then it turns out tons of people already bought the Floral Dragons like D&D supplements, even though, and they're like, I don't know how to play D&D, I just love the art, so I bought the book.
Well,
and,
a game.
Yeah, and so
eating with the eyes, right? And romantasy is freaking huge.
Oh yeah,
right?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Fourth
some of
wing,
our content creators that we use, so most of our content creators are outside the board game industry.
I was just gonna say they have to be, because you're addressing different audiences, which is awesome.
Well, and it turns out that like they also, in addition to doing historic cosplay, they also do like Renaissance fairs and like fantasy cosplay.
Yeah, for sure.
And so that's been going off like gangbusters so far. It hasn't even launched yet, but that's gonna be. So we like to aim for base hits, not home runs.
Yeah,
and that's gonna be a solid base hit, no problem. It's already successful. Like,
and it might eventually be a home run, right? And that's, I think, what you said. Like, set your
don't jinx us.
set your expectations low.
Yeah,
and things can only go up. And there's your Canadian connection. I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
To Hit Point Press.
Yeah,
it's wonderful. It's good. Gotta have that.
They also work with Joe, who's going to be our guest next week. I think Joe did the.
Oh, Joe Slack's going to be your guest next week. Oh, nice. Yeah.
So he did the solo version for Botany, didn't he?
He did the solo version. No, Botany we did ourselves. He did the solo version for LaFleur, Artistry, and Endearment. He's working on the solo version for Botany Floral Dragons. And we are publishing, Joe and Joachim Ingfors made a game called Prophecy Quest, and we're going to be publishing that later this year as well.
Yeah, and so we are publishing that under a different
Minerva.
Minerva Studio. Yep.
Because also, like, I want my pretty games. Like if you look at Pottery Barn or something, they separate.
Don't dilute the brand.
Yeah, don't.
Well, when you go to Pottery Barn, you don't see cookware. You got to click on Williams-Sonoma at the top. It's the same company, but Williams-Sonoma is the cookware brand. And so that's how we're approaching this too. So it's not a secret that like Somnium owns Minerva Studio, but like when you're on the website, it's going to be, you'll see all your usual Somnium stuff, or if you enter on the Minerva Studio side, you'll see the Minerva stuff, and then you can click back and forth between the two. But we're still keeping those. And then Floral Dragons is like the bridge that goes between them. And I've gotten a lot of our historic girls are like, oh, I'm totally going to get this because my kids, they kind of like, I don't know if I want to play the historic game, but they'll play this Dragon games with me. And so we're just trying to, again, we're just keep spreading those audiences around to have connections, but like to keep growing the the brand and just playing with all of Amy's favorite stuff.
It's an interesting point about, splitting the brand up, because it's kind of worked and kind of failed in different like publishers. So for example, like Smirk and Dagger started Smirk and Laughter and then rolled it all back into Smirk and Dagger
Yep.
after. And then I know that Kids Table Board Game and Burnt Island Games, they're, maybe not going to want to run two brands all the time, which is funny because they just won the Kenner Spiel, right? For
Yeah.
Endeavor Deep Sea. And Jay, my design partner, is doing off the page games, and he's talking about, well, what if we want to do games that aren't based on, comic books? What do we do? And do we do off the page something else where it's like similar but not exactly, like a sub brand? So it is interesting to do that and to split your worlds in that way. And I think it works okay, but it's just like another, you have to market from the ground up again, I guess. So
Well, it's easy for us because it's all the same engine, and the only difference is we have separate Instagram pages. And the main reason we have separate Instagram pages is because Amy does not want a bunch of little mushroom guys fighting a bunch of little hummingbirds in Notebook Nations mixed in with all our historic art on the Duck Somnium page. And
what's wrong with little mushroom guys, Amy?
There's nothing wrong
they just
with
don't
it.
match.
It's just,
Yeah, we're talking about
like
customer
pretty.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah. The aesthetics don't
It's all got to
match,
fit
clash.
together. So, and there's people there's websites you can go to. We'll use Asmodee as an example, but you land on Asmodee's homepage and you're going to see 40 different things, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not what we're looking for. We always think about that customer journey. And when they go from Instagram to landing on our site, we want them to see like a cohesive experience as they're going through it. Now, they can get
the
to
vibes always the same.
Yeah.
I think it depends also on like how far apart they are, like look and theme and everything.
Yeah, I mean, there's some sites you can go to and you land and you're like, oh, look at all these cute little animals. Oh, and a game about hunting, people in World War II. And I'm like, those are very different games. Like,
They are.
you're definitely attracting, like, you got the historic thing going on and the war gamers, but you also got people that are after cozy animals. And I doubt the people, and depending on how you land on the page, sometimes you can click on an ad for the cute little animals, and the first thing you see is the World War II game.
Like,
and I'm like, that's not a customer journey. So for us, Amy and I are the only people that work at our company, and we have a bunch of contractors that help us with stuff. But we can't. Everything we do has to be done with like an eye for extreme efficiency, and that was one of my jobs when I was an IT consultant, was just process efficiency management. And so for us, it's just about making sure that customer journey is intact. And so if we, so these are two customer journey funnels that we have people going through, and then we could add a third, a fourth, a fifth. The overall load would not be that much,
Right. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Right. And also,
but
you said like the engines are the same. It's just the visual, vibe is different.
We keep low overhead too. So you hear about these studios, they go out, they buy, like, oh, they had a big Kickstarter. They went and bought a company van, and they did all these big booths at conventions, and now they have a studio space and they have 10 employees. That's not how we work. I'm like, how can we make this more efficient so we don't have to hire a bunch of people? And so for us, Notebook Nations is already profitable. It hasn't even released yet. Just off the distributor orders, it's already good to go. And so that, you hear about people talking about, somebody was talking, I can't remember which company it was, but they were saying, yeah, we released 9 games last year and only one of them was a flop. And I'm like, we don't have flops ever. We have bigger games and we have smaller games, but not a single one of them has ever flopped because the bar is so low about the threshold we have to cross. We keep everything tight. We run everything smart. And so it's just about like exploring, like, what are those other audiences, and where maybe there's another big one over here, or maybe there's over there, or maybe these people don't have a game. Let's make one that, in that theme. And we're sort of just exploring our way through that the whole time.
I think that takes a real willingness to explore, right? To get out of your comfort zone of, dungeons and robots and magic, right?
Yeah, and if you come out of Dungeons and Robots and Magic game and say, I have to make $500,000 on Kickstarter to succeed here, yeah, you're setting yourself up for a high likelihood of not hitting the targets you're at. For us, if we make $15,000 on a Kickstarter, we're done. We're good. Everything after that is bonus.
Mm-hmm.
You've been talking about efficiency, and then also the fact that you have 30 games that are just kind of in the back that you're thinking about moving forwards. You also mentioned the 5 that you've already created, and that you have 5 coming out this year.
10 total games coming out this year.
So
by next
this
Christmas.
leads
Yep.
me to the question that I've been like dying to pick your brains about, which is, what is your process for game design where you're able to put out such high quality games that are very thematic, hits the nail on the head when it comes to your audience, look great, play great? What is your process for designing and creating these to be able to put out that many games on such a short schedule? Does it help that the themes are overlapping, or that it's tied to an interest, or like, I just am interested in what your process looks like?
I don't know the last time we had a vacation, so there's
Yeah, we work a
that.
lot. I mean, we're definitely building an engine. I mean, to be fair, all day, every day, we're just playing. We just play all day. And so,
Also, several of those games that we are coming out with are from other designers.
yeah, with 1, 2, 3, 4. So five, the 5 games, 6 of the games we have coming out this year are by us, and 4 are by other designers. And so having other designers helps a lot. And we have like we have a basically like a small pool of friends that we're publishing for. That makes it super easy. We're meeting with them every week. We're bouncing ideas off each other, and then we just have the engine set up. And they're like, "Here, take this one. Would this be a good one?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that would take Amy about a week to get ready for production."
And I definitely know how to do design better now, like InDesign.
Amy
and
is
stuff.
so freaking quick. Yeah, she's so fast at like the actual. So when it comes to like the actual design, I mean, maybe like usually about 5 or 6 times a week, we'll sit down for 30 minutes, an hour, and just talk through stuff. We're always talking through stuff while like I'll be working on orders or answering customer service emails, on a shoulder on my shoulder. What if we did this, or what if we did that? And so like the design process is just sort of like continuously going, and then at some point the whole thing just gels. And that used to freak me out. Like I'd be like, oh gosh, maybe I should spend like 5 years on this game. Well, I'll never forget. I heard an interview with Alan Moon, who did Ticket to Ride. And again, I'm just paraphrasing his story, but it was basically like he came up with the idea for Ticket to Ride while walking his dog, and then he spent the next 6 months trying to prove that he hadn't come up with the perfect game already. By the time he was done, he had come all the way back to the design he had come up with when he was walking his dog.
And I think we kind of did that for Endearment a little bit.
Yeah, Endearment, Botany came together within a week, 90% done. And after that, there's plenty of time spent like just making sure that we haven't run into any problems, making sure people aren't confused. But like for the games we're designing, Botany was like a week. I think LaFleur took maybe like a month of like back and forth stuff.
A little longer.
Yeah, a month and a half. Artistry was done in like one night at the dinner at this very table we're at here.
Because I was working on it, and Dusty was like, "What are you?"
I can be like, "We're working on Endearment. Stop that! Yeah, knock it off."
I like designing boxes.
She's like, "Just leave me alone. I'm working on this. We're trying to figure out." Endearment took us like a whole year.
Yeah, we were trying to work on Endearment. It was actually supposed to come out before Artistry. Well, Artistry wasn't even supposed to come out.
And then Artistry was just done. Like in a week, it was basically done. And then we spent the next 6 months just proving that it was good as it was. And so Endearment, yeah, we had all these ideas and we couldn't quite get it and we couldn't quite figure it out. But while that was happening, we didn't just like get stuck on that. We went and worked on a bunch of other games. We made War of the Posies. We made Artistry. We started thinking about Victorian Greeting Card Showdown. And so we always have a bunch of irons in the fire, and it's just a matter of like which one all of a sudden gels and comes together. And then Amy's just constantly graphic designing all day, and it's what she does for fun, and so she can't stop herself. And so like we'll have people come in and they're like, "Wow, this game looks like it's done," and I'm like, "Yeah, this is the first play test." And they're like, "How?" "Well, Amy decided to graphic design the whole thing, and we'll just change the design if we change anything in the game."
What's also interesting is that since we are using all public domain art for the most part for our games, I have to make sure I have the art for the games.
So the design matters, yeah. So I'll go to her and I'll be like, "Okay, well, I have this idea for a mechanic."
I'm like, "Well, I can't get that."
Yeah, and she's like, "Well, I don't have 100 locations I can use. I have maybe 50." And I'm thinking, okay, well, let's change the mechanic to fit what we have available to us.
Or I was like, for Endearment, I'm like, I have all these dresses. Let's add some more.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're already, the 10 games we're working on now, we're already working on the batch that comes after that for the fall. And those will land in, spring, summer next year. And so it's just all these irons in the fire, and we're working on different stuff, and it all just sort of comes together when it comes together. And then we have no deadlines. We have no timeline. We have a timeline we're aiming for, but everything is flexible. We're not beholden to any we're very bootstrappy. Are we talking entrepreneurship here? So we don't, we have no debt. We have low overhead. And so it just frees you up to do, like, rather than being like, "Oh my gosh, I've got to hit this deadline. I've got to get this game out. I have to launch it now. I've got to make payroll for us, it's just we're just working as we work, and things come together, and it frees us up to do.
We do try to hit like now, like a Kickstarter in the spring and maybe one in the fall.
But if it didn't happen, if it had to push back a month, it would just push back a month. It's not a big deal.
Except for run one in December.
Yeah, except for December. That's a garbage time of year to run a Kickstarter.
It totally is.
Yeah.
And are you still doing all the other things like the lavender and all that photography and stuff?
The photography is basically on hibernation. We have it set up so we could turn it back on anytime we needed to, but we haven't shot a wedding. We shot over almost 400 weddings. We haven't shot one since last year.
I have a very large lavender field for myself.
We're just not selling it. Yeah.
A garden. So we probably have 1,000 lavender plants. I enjoy it. I like gardening. And
she's got 100 rose bushes. She's got
I only
trees.
have 70.
Oh, 70. Only 70, yeah. Trees everywhere.
I have over 100 and something bearded irises.
See, but that's efficiency, because I kept saying this garden's getting bigger and bigger. We have like acres of garden now, and I was like, this is getting too big. We gotta do something. And Amy's like, what if we gravel the garden? And so I spent that's what I did last winter, was I graveled the whole garden so that we wouldn't have to mow it anymore.
There's
right?
There's still a little bit.
Yeah. So again, we're just looking for efficiency there. The one thing we still have going is our travel marketing business. That would be very hard to turn back on. And so everything we do is like a risk assessment. And so the travel business, we've spent years building up the client base there. It's a very small industry, and it's very much about like knowing the different clients and all the requirements. So that's still going. So I do that every day, and I do this every day, and we work a lot.
Well, it sounds like it's working for you guys, which is great. So what do we have to look forward to this year in terms of things that you can tell us?
Yeah, what can we talk about? So Botany Floral Dragons, that's coming out. Victorian.
Also, hopefully doing a little botany finally.
Yeah, we're putting little botany together.
So we started doing our little games for our kids, and so
the kids help us design them. So our kids have sold to date about 8,000 copies of their games.
Yeah, so Le Fleur was the first one that we did, and we did Le Petite Fleur, and then basically they're very easy to make because we kind of take it and then simplify.
And we're like, what's the theme for this one? And it's like a little artistry. The theme is oh, you're the little sister of all these fancy girls working at the store. And your sister's constantly talking about all these fancy art things. But you're like, but that's boring. You know what is fun? Storybooks. And so it's all the gilded age of like the golden age of illustration. And then Amy made a little endearment because she wanted to make a game about farm animals. And so our daughter's 6 and our son is 10, and they help us design them. And then I get emails from people like, hey, these kid games are amazing, and I took it to the pub and played it with my friends. I'm like, you did what now? And so,
but we have fun with them.
Yeah, we have fun with them too. We take the main game mechanics. Think about like going backwards from Ticket to Ride does a really good job of this. Ticket to Ride to Ticket to Ride First Journey. You just take the main game and you make it simpler. So that's coming out.
And less text.
Yeah, Little Botany. Yeah, much less text. Little Botany, Victorian Greeting Card Showdown's coming out. We have Notebook Nations coming. That one already people know about. And then I don't think we've announced the other ones yet.
I know.
Okay, then it's okay. We'll find out about them sooner or later.
Yeah.
As long as I'm on, like,
that's the only reason we don't announce them yet is the names might change.
Yeah. I guess I have to hang out on glass blowing Instagram accounts or something.
Yeah, that's the first place we announce everything.
I did want to talk to you just before we leave about accessing influencers from other realms of fandoms, right? So how do you go about doing that? I know, Amy,
we're not experts. No, we are. I just follow a few girls that I really liked, and a few have reached out to us.
Oh, that's cool.
I actually have very simple advice here, like very good advice. And we'll start with board games. In board games, everybody I talk to tons and tons of publishers through Launch Boom and through the Kagan Academy, and we get emails from people, and they're like, how do you, I'm trying to get this guy to review my thing, and I'm trying to get that crew to review my thing, and they just don't answer my emails, and oh gosh, it's just driving me nuts. And I'm going, whoa. If you went to Target and you tried to check out and you couldn't find anybody to take your money, would you shop at Target? They're like, no, I'd go to Walmart. And I'm like, yes, because Walmart has tons of people that are ready and, ready to help you. And I'm like, these people they're not like celebrities. They're not not people you're begging for their attention. They're businesses. And any business that I go to and I email them and they don't reply to me, I don't do business with them. Yeah. So we have a group of people we work with, and every single one of them, I emailed them and bam, they got right back to me. I'm like, hey, what kind of sponsorships, collaborations, how can we work with you? And because the key for us too is that everybody who does work for us, they give us the files because we use those for advertising. We use those on our website. And so I'm not just looking to have somebody like talk about my thing. I'm not going to have somebody make a piece of content for my thing that I can then take and use to show people. And again, there's that evil word marketing, but I want to show people the product. So every single one of them got right back to us. Here's our pricing. Here's how it works. And then it's just about like, who do I like? Who's responsive? Who's interested in working with my game? Who am I, not did I beg this guy and he finally accepted it and whoa, he did. And then he said a bunch of bad things about my game anyways. No, forget that. This is, these are business people. And so,
or should be.
I don't care if they're big or not. Like some of my favorite content creators, they've gotten big, but when they started, they only had a few hundred followers. And I'm like, I really like you. And I appreciate that you're responding to my emails. And I like your pricing and your product is incredible. We will absolutely go with this. Done. That's how we do it.
Very cool. So, you know what? We've talked for a full hour, and we are. I'm really happy to have met you guys finally, and that's great.
I did a lot of talking. I'm very verbose, and Amy doesn't talk much.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. Hafiz, do you have any last minute questions for the crew of Somnium?
Well, I have a quick shout out, which is both Amy and Dusty have done talks for the virtual summit. Amy's was released today. Dusty's is being released tomorrow. And so for those of you who are watching either live or going to be catching up on the video later on, if you want to hear more from Dusty and Amy, highly recommend checking those out. And it's a nice segue to say that we're having Joe, who's organizing the virtual summit, joining us in our next session.
That's right. So Joe Slack. Yeah, Joe Slack will be here next week, same time. Well, actually earlier. So at the regular 9 o'clock slot. And he'll be here to talk about the summit in full. And I believe that you can probably buy late passes and still you'll just miss out on the live Q&A type sessions.
Yeah, pretty sure you can. The Q&As this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. I think Amy and I are on Sunday because Saturday is Amy's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah, Amy says
happy
a lot of really
birthday.
Thanks.
Yeah, 21 years young. Amy says a lot of very smart things about design, and I give an absolute fire hose of information about running a business on Amazon. And it's not well organized and it's all over the place. But if you rewind everything, you're going to know how to run an Amazon business by the time you're done.
And I think that's another really important thing to talk about eventually is like alternative distribution models, and Amazon being one of them, right? And probably
D2C is 90% of our business.
One.
Yeah. We are not relying on distributors. We're not relying on begging other people. Like we go straight to the customer and say, "Here, would you like this?" And they say yes.
Yep, there you go. So everybody, if you want to see
planning your game, so it doesn't just fizzle.
Yep.
If you want to see more of what Somnium has to offer, please go check out their website at www.somnium.com. Excuse me. If you want to chat more with me and Hafiz, you can reach me on Blue Sky at Senfeng Lim, Maple Syrup on all the things, and Hafiz is at Printer Ink Games on the Instagram, correct?
That is correct.
Yes, Hafiz is like lagged by a couple seconds here. If you want to help keep the lights on, you can reach out at patreon.com/maple-syrup. Don't worry if you don't have the money. We know it's tough times right now. I would actually rather you buy maybe a back Somnium game, to be completely honest. Do you have any, I forgot to tell you, I'm sorry, but do you have any final advice? Any final advice that you can like sum up in like, a single sentence or two at the most?
You do not have permission to lose money.
I like that. That is a good one. That is a good one. Amy, what's your final piece of advice?
I don't have one.
Do what Mary likes.
Yeah, know your audience.
Make a game that you love and for
for the audience that you want it for. Great.
Yeah.
Awesome, everybody. We'll see you guys all next week when we have the one, the only Mr. Joe Slack coming to talk to us about the summit. What is it actually called, Hafiz? I don't know the actual
name. Board Game Design Virtual Summit.
Yeah, the virtual. Yeah, that's it.
Board Game Design Virtual Summit.
Or the Virtual Board Game Design Summit, or the Board Virtual Summit of Design.
Oh, I like that one even better. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. Same time. Well, actually, an hour earlier, like I said, but definitely the same place. All right. We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, Hafiz is going to be a couple seconds late. There we go.